One person believes he may eat anything. I like that, don't you? Let not the one who eats despise the one who abstains, and let not the one who abstains pass judgment on the one who eats, for God has welcomed him. Homer Simpson, a glutton, and Lisa, his vegan daughter, are both welcome at the table of the Lord. It's a beautiful thing that we can strive with each other, argue, debate, discuss at the rational level and at the emotional level, and these things are not unimportant. But they take place, at least for Christians. These debates about what to eat and what not to eat, how to live and how to die, these debates take place in the banquet hall of God the Father. Don't judge. Don't hate. For we will all stand before the judgment seat of God, both the one who eats and the one who doesn't eat, together. In the World War II military, as the stories go, everyone goes to the mess hall to receive, in the first place, something resembling a piece of bread, which I believe is called in refined military parlance, the shingle. Moving on down the line, the chef delivers to those fortunate connoisseurs the stuff which goes on the shingle. All of them, without variation. You do not eat anything. You may eat that shingle and whatever is upon it. You may not abstain, for if you do, you shall certainly, eventually, starve. Escaping from the military brings the joy of culinary freedom. That's the way life works. Despite the tremendous variety of lifestyles we are afforded to live in this great society of ours, we still have some pretty hard limits. The facts of life are still such that if you make mistakes, you will suffer consequences. Even if you don't make mistakes, life has a tendency to serve you a very limited menu on a shingle. That's just the way it is. It just does. Not once, twice, or even 7 times, but 70 times 7. We're caught up in it. It's normal to us. How often will my brother sin against me and I forgive him? As many as 7 times? We may think to chuckle a little bit at Peter's childishness, but consider his question. 10 years ago, a dear lady I happen to know came to me after a Bible study which considered his question. She had stopped short at the words, my brother. She was the sweetest lady you've ever met, always concerned about her 2 daughters, one of whom was greatly troubled and one of whom was developmentally disabled, and her motherly concern stretched outwards as far as she could reach. She wanted everyone around her to be cared for, and she managed to do her part with very little fanfare. She rarely spoke, just smiled. So it was a great shock to me that while I was packing up my Bible and my notes, she charged up to me and declared, I can't forgive my sister. Just like that. I stared at her, not knowing what to say. She repeated, I can't forgive my sister. I can never forgive her for what she did to me. Never. I finally found my tongue, and I managed to croak out, well, you're going to have to try. And I kept packing my stuff, kind of hoping that I'd solve the problem, but she kept standing there, with the effect that her silence was louder than anything she had said. So I asked, Why? Why can't you forgive your sister? Right there in front of God, me, and all the people remaining, she commenced to tell a story of horrible abuse and merciless violence, which resulted with one of her kidneys ceasing to function. And that's why, she said, I can never forgive my sister for what she did. What do you say? Well, you don't resolve that one with a one-liner or even a paragraph, because man, that's a real problem. How many times will my sister sin against me and I forgive her? Not even once? If you do not forgive your sister from your heart, but how can she? Some of us can get caught in some real abusive situations, sometimes physical, sometimes emotional. And if you've ever been the weaker one in that situation, you know the kind of anger that builds up against an alcoholic father or mother, or a relative who is just wired to show cruelty and you can't do anything about it. Anger is bad enough and it eats at you, but it yields to hatred because they did you wrong. Your brother did you wrong. How many times will he sin against me? A million zillion with every breath he takes for a lifetime? That's what we eat, my dear friends. This is what life serves us on that shingle. And Jesus has the audacity to tell us to put it away. Forgive, not just with your mouth and a scowl, but from your heart. How? Jesus takes up his cross and bids us to follow him. Here's how you expunge hatred from your heart. You go to Calvary, the place of a skull, and you die with Jesus. This entire conversation comes on the heels of Jesus challenging you that if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off. If your eye causes you to sin, gouge it out. If your heart causes you to sin, stab it. Come to an end as you, so that you are transformed by him. That's the only way to get out of this life alive, to get out of the line at the mess hall, to quit eating what's on that shingle, to get to a place in your heart where you begin to say, I'll eat what I want, and you can eat what you want. We do each other some horrible wrongs, sometimes crimes of passion, sometimes calculated, sometimes just openly, sometimes very subtly, sometimes by accident, sometimes without even knowing. We hurt each other. When we understand that we're sitting at the table of God, all brothers and sisters, all in Christ, all forgiven in the same way, with the same suffering of the one Son of God, a realization sets in that we forgive, not because we have to or want to. No one ever really gets that far. But we forgive because we are in a new kind of life together. Whatever it is that you're holding on to in your heart, however great or however small a deed was done against you, that belongs in the life that serves the shingle. Forgiveness belongs in the life that serves you whatever you want to eat.